Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Great Big Plugin Show on Puremix. You can check us out at puremix.com. And as always, if you haven't yet, hit the bell, hit the subscribe button, do all the things that helps us to keep content like this going. Today on the Plugin Show, we're going to be talking about a plugin that I kind of deliberated covering on here for a couple different reasons. But thinking about the format of the show, where this is a live stream instead of a pre-recorded video where I just talk at you guys, I thought this would actually be pretty fun because I'd love to see some thoughts from the community on the topic of cloning. So not necessarily like the sheep kind with Dolly and all that, or like the Star Wars kind with the long neck guys that make the stormtroopers or anything. We're going to talk about plugins and cloning gear and doing sound alikes and all of that. And today's plugin is called the Xtressor from Kiive or Kiive Audio. I've heard it pronounced both ways, so hope I'm pronouncing it right. This is a plugin distributed through Plugin Alliance and has been making a lot of noise. So I did a poll on our Pure Mixers Facebook group, which if you're not a member of, head over to Facebook, type in Pure Mixers, and do a request to join the group, and we'll get you in there. But we do all kinds of discussions in there, and I'd like to pull the audience and see what kind of things they want to hear about, both in our content on PureMix and for things like this, where it's like, what plugin do you guys want us to talk about on the show or review or go over features of, all of those kinds of things. And the Kiive Audio Xtressor got 41% of the votes, which kind of blew my mind because it was an overwhelming sweep of people wanting us to cover the Xtressor. So why would that blow my mind? It's basically because we already have a really great few options for distressor plugins, right? So Universal Audio has a distressor that sounds fantastic. And then Empirical Labs themselves have a plugin called the Arouser, which is also fantastic and does a few things that the distressor doesn't. So I'm already thinking like, okay, there's great options out there. There's also one from Slate Digital. There's been some others on the market before. And basically we have another one now with Plugin Alliance. So as a company for Plugin Alliance, this makes a lot of sense to me because they're a subscription model thing. You buy a subscription to Plugin Alliance, you get all of the plugins in the bundle. This is included in the bundle. It makes sense that they want to have a distressor type plugin inside of there. I totally get that. So that's a good reason, right? Is if you're a Plugin Alliance member and you need a distressor, you don't have one of the other ones, it's already included in your subscription. Of course, this is going to be exciting. So we're going to pull up the website and take a look at it. And I want to just kind of briefly talk about the cloning thing. And then after that, we're going to move on and forget all about it being a distressor. And we're just going to listen to the plugin and do what we normally do, which is turn a bunch of knobs and see, is this a useful tool going forward? So we'll get all of this like cloning wars and wow, it looks really similar to a distressor. Is that cool or not cool? We're going to get all of that stuff out of the way first. So we'll do that by checking out the website, which we have up here. Martin says, geekery rules. This is going to be one of the geekiest conversations of all time, and I'm pretty excited about it. So guys, chat room is right above me. Please make sure that you chime in on this conversation. I really do want to know everybody's thoughts on this. And I made a joke in my Instagram post that we were going to be discussing the ethics of cloning. So that's what this portion of the thing's going to be. All right, there it is, the Xtressor. Let me blow this up a little bit for you guys. And very obviously, this is, oops, I just went away from the page. There we go. This is a distressor, right? Obviously in name, they're not making any kind of subtlety about saying this is a distressor, right? Now, one interesting thing about their version of the distressor that you won't find in other places is they have the, I believe it's the, I'm looking down at mine in the rack, it's the EL8X model, where you have the British mode, you have the option to switch over to Opto, which is in the regular one, and then the stereo image link, also not necessarily a unique thing, but you have British mode in this one. And we just did a Q&A with Michael Brower, where Michael was going through his template and talking about how he uses the distressors and how the British mode is a huge part of his sound, but that's not something that's on the Universal Audio distressor. And he was hoping, that that's going to be a feature that comes out in the near future because that's something that he did very much in the analog world, and he wanted to have a plug-in version of that. So in that live stream, the chat room lit up, and they're like, "Guys, the Kiive audio has the British mode in it. Have you checked it out yet?" And it was a question that was asked like half a dozen times in there during our live Q&A thing. And the answer was no, not yet, but we're certainly going to, of course, right? Because what we do is reach for the tool that gets us to the finish line. So that's one argument for, is this cool that this exists? Yeah, it's cool. We get to see if the British mode is working in a plugin format. So moving on from that, looking at the interface on here, we've got a new section on the bottom that was not a part of the original Xtressor, right? Like everything else is the same. The ratios are the same. The sidechain filters, the emphasis on the bell, linking, and then obviously like in the type, there's the option to add second and third order harmonics with, distortion 2 and 3, and all looks normal, right? At the bottom, we have a new thing where there's a saturation knob and a warmth knob, and man, those knobs look familiar. Next to that, there's a mix, compression, like wet dry thing. So you can blend in compression or take it out. And then we have saturation and taking it in or out. And I have played with this plugin, and we're going to listen to it. And that's really the important part of this demo. So we'll get through this pretty quick. But I saw a review where somebody was saying the warmth thing was their favorite feature of this, because the Xtressor is known for being aggressive and having like a bit of a mid-forward kind of a sound to it. And they basically said you can counteract that with the warmth knob and, kind of tame things down a little bit. So something that kind of like that didn't sit well with me, because like the reason that I would reach for a Xtressor is because of that mid-forward pop that you get from it. There's a sound to this compressor that is amazing, and it's the reason why we grab it for the elements that we do grab it for. And obviously that's all about selecting the right tool for the job, right? So my thought of that was, if you're grabbing a knob to get rid of the artifacts of the Xtressor, why are you using the Xtressor, right? That said, we're going to find out if it makes cool sounds anyway, and then throw all that stuff out of the window, because that part of the argument is tied to, does it sound like a Xtressor? So we'll just figure it out in a minute. But that is the new part of this. And then we have some other things like Xtressor mode, which is mono, stereo, or MS. And then at the very top of it, I want to point out too, we have some options for increasing the input level going into the unit. There's a output trim. If the output trim isn't enough, you have another output trim, and then oversampling options, and then a width knob. There's a width knob on a Xtressor. So we'll talk about that. Sometimes it's cool to have that stuff, and it's handy to put it all in one place. So, all right. Other than that, we've got the marketing video, some other information, a bunch of cool quotes, and then all the usual kind of stuff that's on here. One thing I do want to point out too is that Kiive has some other options on their website. They have a plugin, which is an emulation of an emulation, which is the Warm EPQ1A, which is supposed to be like the Pultec EQP1A. They made a plugin of the Warm version of the thing. I think it's free, so that's cool. They also have an Xtressor with the nuke function. So that's just with the ratio on nuke. It's a fixed attack time, and then you have adjustable release on it. There's auto gain on it. Other than that, it's supposed to just be the nuke sound. It's cool that it's free, and that might be a good way for you to get into like checking out this plugin if you don't have Plugin Alliance. Other than that, they have some other units on here. There's an ADC1, which also looks very familiar to the Chandler Germanium stuff. And there's looks like a Vox amp thing. There's some other channel stuff on here. So they do have some other plugins, and not all of them. Like, for example, I just got an email from them about one called Tapehead, I think. So they have a plugin, or Tape Face. There we go. This is a tape plugin. It's the last tape emulation you'll ever need. It doesn't look like it's emulating anything. So I guess all of that to say that this company, while they do have a few other things that are very much like other units on here, it does look like they have a couple of unique plugins as well. So there might be some good options there. On the Empirical Labs side, I just wanted to call attention quickly to a pricing thing, and this is about which plugin do you go for? Again, like as I mentioned, this is part of the Plugin Alliance plugin suite, and if you already have that plugin suite, then why wouldn't you pull this up and play with it, right? Play with the Xtressor. Otherwise, the Arouser sounds amazing. It's got some other stuff in there, and also quickly, I'm not being paid by Empirical Labs to put on this video. This is again, this is something where we like pulled the audience, and that's why we're here. So this is just another version to be aware of. It's doing other things besides the distressor, but it's another one to be aware of. If you were going to buy the Xtressor outright, I think it's $99 on sale from $150 if I saw right. So just just making a note. There you go. Note made. All right. Let's go over to the chat, and I just want to see if you guys. Okay, so Dave Western lets me know it's pronounced Kiive or Kiive. Oh, you don't know either. Come on. Okay, let's see. No other thoughts on the clone thing. Bo Stevenson Music says, I feel like if I worked really hard to build a piece of hardware that became beloved because of how great it is, I'd be pretty bummed if someone cloned it digitally without including me in some way. And then he says, can one have too many knobs? No, definitely not. Okay. All right, let's move on. Let's go over to Pro Tools and let's actually listen to the thing. So, chat, if you guys have anything else to say about the Clone Wars, put it into the chat. Otherwise, we're not going to be doing any A/B comparisons today. There's a number of videos available on YouTube where you guys can go and see content like that, where people are, pulling out their hardware distressors and the plugins and Slate's plugin and doing the A/Bs. Basically, at this point in the show, whenever I'm doing something that's a clone of something else, I say, who cares? And then we just move on. But for some reason, this one it kind of struck me as funny because of the just complete copy of the GUI on it. And one other thing to just kind of add to that, that, I can hear somebody out there in the audience saying is, isn't the distressor an emulation of like an 1176 or in opto mode? Isn't it trying to be an LA2A? Kind of, sort of, but not really, right? So we've had Dave on interviews in the past that you guys can go watch on our YouTube channel. And I highly recommend that you do because he tells the entire story of building the distressor and where it came from. And it was a unit that was influenced by or like borrowed ideas of his favorite compressors, but it wasn't trying to be an emulation. And yeah, basically that's all there is to say about it. It's heavily inspired by, but not trying to be an emulation of. So I think that's enough on that. Let's move on. And guys, if you have something else to say in the chat, let me know. Let's see. Good things going on in the chat there. Mixed by .rob says the Kiive or Kiive or Kiive or Kiive S quick strip is a super cool channel strip in his humble opinion. It's very handy, very snappy compressor. Awesome. That's one to check out. All right. Let's go to our multi-track here. I'm going to pull up Pro Tools and here we go. I have a session loaded up from the amazing Brandy and the Alexanders. This was tracked by Mick Guzowski, and if you've seen the plugin show before, you've likely seen or heard the song, and we've used this vocal in a number of compressor plugin videos because it's extraordinarily dynamic in the beginning. As the band was playing down, Mick was still kind of getting his sounds, and the purple track here is my lead vocal, and if I scroll over so you guys can see the whole track, you'll see the beginning is extremely dynamic, and then things are more controlled by the end of the song when she's singing louder. So Mick was still kind of like dialing things in the beginning, which is awesome. The beginning, that first waveform or the first clip that you see was take one, and then I believe this was another take if I recall correctly. And Mick had just kind of been working through the tracking session. So what I love about this example is compression isn't really dialed in this section, and we have this nice big peak to see how things will work out. So we're going to pull that up here. And we'll grab our Xtressor. And I'm just going to play a couple bars with it in bypass first, and then we'll go from there. So let me put it up here where you guys can see it. And I believe we could increase the size of the GUI. So this is always a good thing on a plugin. Very cool. and we'll go back here and let's listen to it in bypass, and then I'll come back around and we'll try and dial in a really cool vocal setting. Here we go. This is just the vocal.
Why you gotta make me feel so defeated? Why you make me look so green in the eye? Oh, you overpower me. Why you gotta make me feel so defeated? Why you make me look so green in the eye? Oh, you overpower me.
Okay, so very dynamic, obviously. Let's bring in the Xtressor and see if we can deal. I'm just going to go after that really big peak on the end of it there and see if we can just tame it down, see how it feels.
Why you make me look so green in the eye? Oh, you overpower me. So
Oh, I have a note to say. This is a call to all plugin manufacturers. The Pulsar 1178 has this amazing thing where when you hold down shift and you turn the input knob, the output knob adjusts accordingly, right? So if I pull down input, output goes up, and then if I push up input, output goes down. It's one of the most useful features ever, and I wish it was on every compressor plugin that has a fixed threshold like this. So 1176s, Xtressors, basically any of those, I would love to have the option to hold down shift and have the input and output do one of the twisty things that we all know so well. So that's my plea to everybody out there. Okay, here we go. And then say thank you to Pulsar after that. Okay.
why you make me look so green in the eye? Oh, you overpower me so instinctively. No matter how green in the eye. Oh, you overpower me. Green in the eye. Oh, you overpower me.
All right, let's see how we're doing on the peak.
Green in the eye. Oh, you overpower me.
Okay, one thing I just realized is I have two Xtressors in front of me, but I only have a mono vocal here. So let's just go, this is the mono version. So that's the thing, if I'm using a mono version of the plugin, I don't need a left and right side on it. It's, you know, just more things for my eyes to look at. It did put the stereo image link on right away for me, so it's operating, you know, similar to how a mono thing would. But yeah, that's something right off the bat that I kind of just wish I was looking at one unit, even if we had the extra saturation unit on there or whatever. Here we go.
Green in the eye. Oh, you overpower me.
All right, let's play with our sidechain a little bit. I'm gonna put in the high pass filter and the bell.
Green in the eye. Oh, you overpower me.
All right, I'm having to drop my input pretty low, so let's play with the input knob here that's at the top and use the extra feature they've added and just bring that input down a bit.
Green in the eye. Oh, you overpower me.
And then I'm gonna compensate on their output knob instead of the units.
Green in the eye. Oh, you overpower me.
Okay, so pretty quick on the draw there. It's handling that peak pretty well. I'm gonna try opening the attack up, and let's see how natural we can get with it.
Green in the eye. Oh, you overpower me so instinctively. No matter where I run, I just can't overcome.
And I want to quote a friend of mine here who was talking about mix knobs on compressors. I don't think he'll mind me mentioning. It was John Paterno, and he always gets frustrated when he sees those because he's like, "Isn't that what the attack knob is?" So as you can see, I'm kind of using the attack knob to decide like how much do I want to dig into this thing instead of just smashing it down and then like backing off the mix, the wet dry knob. To just make things sound more natural by bringing the original in. I'm trying to adjust the attack and release times to give me a natural compression just right off the bat. So that's not to say that mix knobs don't have their place. They're useful sometimes, but you have to start with the actual timing of the compressor first.
Green in the eye. Oh, you overpower me so instinctively. No matter where I run, I just can't overcome. Green in the eye, oh, you overpower me so instinctively.
Cool. So that's just kind of dealing with the peaks. We'll go back from a couple bars and just kind of listen to it. Let's put it in the track, and I'll try to get it blended in pretty quick here.
Why you gotta make me feel so defeated? Why you make me look so green in the eye? Oh, you overpower me so instinctively. No matter where I run, I just can't overcome. I know that you're lying to me, that the grass ain't so green. I know it isn't so, but you won't let me go. Oh, 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 jealousy.
Okay, so as we've done with this vocal on other shows in the past, we've looked for something really fast to deal with those peaks and just get the vocal under control before doing something like a more broad compression. I am able to do that here. It's grabbing a bit fast on it, and despite like kind of playing with the attack times and then, you know, massaging that with the input and so on and so forth. But I am able to grab the peaks with that. And that's cool. Let's see if I'm getting that same mid-range pop that I'm used to from a Xtressor. Now, I don't have either saturation mode in, so we'll A/B some of those as we go through. I'll do no harmonics, and then on the next loop through, we'll try 2, then we'll try 3. Here we go.
Why you gotta make me feel so defeated? Why you make me look so green in the eye? Oh, you overpower me so instinctively. Why you gotta make me feel so defeated? Why you make me look so green in the eye? Oh, you overpower me so instinctively.
Here's third.
Why you gotta make me feel so defeated? Why you make me look so green in the eye? Oh, you overpower me so instinctively.
Cool. So I am getting a familiar feeling from the second and third order harmonics from the Xtressors that I have in my rack, and I love my other Xtressor plugins and all that. So it's feeling familiar, which is cool. And I feel like we're getting something under control. I want to listen to it clean one more time without the plugin on, and then I want to listen to it again with the second order harmonics, and we'll just hear the difference here. So here's clean.
Why you gotta make me feel so defeated? Why you make me look so green in the eye?
And plugin.
Why you gotta make me feel so defeated? Why you make me look so green in the eye?
And then let's do that again with no harmonics on the plugin. So here's clean.
Why you gotta make me feel so defeated? Why you make me look so green in the eye?
Plugin.
Why you gotta make me feel so defeated? Why you make me look so green in the eye?
Okay, so I'm hearing a little bit of a mid-range pop thing that you would sort of expect from having a Xtressor on there. It feels like a little bit more obvious than I'm remembering, but let's go ahead and play with this warmth button and just see what happens. One thing I noticed while I was moving these buttons, they appear to be detented, meaning like when I move they click, and that's really going to be great for recall. So if we have to recall this session, you know, as long as I make good notes on where these knobs are, I'll be able to recall it. All right, that's enough of me being a jackass. Here we go. This is the warmth knob.
Why you gotta make me feel so defeated? Why you make me look so green in the eye? Oh, you overpower me so instinctively. Why you gotta make me feel so defeated?
For this, let's go to the end of the song where we might be getting some more like upper mid-range stuff.
Oh,
Okay, just going through there. I started turning the warmth knob, and it was like, let's see if we can deal with some of that harsh, like, 2.9, 3K stuff that's getting pokey in there, and we'll try and tame it out. And then I released, kind of realized also, normally I would probably speed up the attack on the compressor. I've already got the bell curve on the side chain, but I would actually try to smooth it out a little bit more because it was all transient material. So that's why I went back over to the attack knob and kind of played with it a little bit. Now, let's see. In Pro Tools, you could obviously, or any of, your DAW, you could just go in and you could automate the attack if you had to speed it up later in the song, which I do quite a bit of. If I just need to dial in a section, I'll do that. But it's another way to deal with that, right? And then when I started dealing with the warmth thing, I was kind of feeling like, okay, it's dealing with some of that harsh stuff. It's smoothing things out and taking off some of the edge thing. So it could be a useful tool to have there, which is the whole point. Let's play around with the saturation. And then right after that, we're going to go over to a different song. We're going to play with this on some other things that we would, probably call up the stressors on. We're obviously going to have to play with the nuke button. So we'll put that on some rock drums. We're going to play with trying to get some punch and some attack out of some drums. And then we'll probably do a bass example and just see what we get. But before we do that, let's just turn up the saturation knob and see if we get saturation. I bet we are going to get saturation.
Oh, you fill my head with lies, you keep me paralyzed. I know I got to let it go, need some self-control. Look what you're doing to me. I know that I'll never be free.
Okay, I'm hearing more harshness coming from dialing in the saturation here. So I'm guessing that's why they put the warmth knob to the right of it. Let's play with it.
Oh, you fill my head with lies, you keep me paralyzed. I know I got to let it go, need some self-control. Look what you're doing to me. I know that I'll never be free. Jealousy, jealousy.
Okay, that's saturation. It's an interesting saturation. I could see that being useful in some case somewhere. I'd like to hear that on bass without a ton of warmth on it. And then you saw me play a little bit with the mix saturation knob. And honestly, just what I was listening for there was, is this all happening in phase? Because sometimes parallel distortion stuff, things start getting pretty wonky. And it sounded fine. So cool. That's Jealousy. Let's move on. We're going to go over to a track called Sweet Beast. This is from a band called Illiterate Light, and you guys may know them from the Puremix Start to Finish series featuring Vance Powell. And they went all the way from breaking down the demo of the song to miking up every single instrument, tracking the entire song to the final mix at the very end of it. And you get to see everything that Vance does. It's amazing. He kind of knows what he's doing, so it's pretty cool. Okay, so first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to create a parallel bus for all of the drums, including the cymbals. I'm going to be crazy. And we'll call this drum PAR. And we're going to try a couple things. So we obviously have to try out the nuke setting on the room mics because, what are you doing if you don't try that out, right? And then we'll play with some other stuff on individual drums. So let's start off with the room sound. So I'm going to go to rooms. We'll take a listen to them. Now, Vance does not track things clean, right? That's the best part about Vance is like the way it goes in is the way that he wants it to sound in the end of the mix. Doesn't mean he doesn't do anything to it later, but he's going for the goal on the record pass. So we don't have clean room tracks here. That's not the game. And you guys let me know in the chat if you would like to hear that example. We're going to go back to Jealousy to do it. So let me know over in the chat there. And lots of good stuff going on in the chat too. So make sure you guys are paying attention in there. That's the cool thing about doing this as a live stream is you guys get to be a part of it. All right, let's listen to the room tracks clean. Here we go. So we've already got a little bit of that sound going on, right? Like it's got some personality to it. There we go. All right, but we're going to do it anyway. Here we go. Okay, so the pumping on it doesn't sound as smooth as I'm used to. Let's keep listening. Guys, what are some of your favorite settings on doing the nuke setting if you do it on drum rooms? Do you guys like to do second order or third order harmonics? So distortion 2 or distortion 3 on a distressor. Also, do you like using the high pass filter or do you do a bell? Let me know how you like those sidechain settings, and we'll play with some of the things that you guys want to see. Nice. See you later, Mousequake. Thanks for tuning in. Let's see what else we got here. All right, let's keep going. Cool. So as you'd expect, like with the stereo image link turned off, things open up. It's, compressing differently. You're not quite hearing that same new sort of sound that I think that we all love. But yeah, let's see what else we got here. So let's go over to bass. We've kind of played with that. We might have to go to the other song though, because those drums are again pretty distorted. And actually, before we do that, let's try playing with the parallel setting. So I have all the mics feeding into this parallel, and maybe let's go ahead and pull the rooms out of that and the mono drum out of that. They won't feed anyway because it's the post fader send, but we'll pull the overheads out as well and the hat. So, you know what, honestly, let's just do kick and snare. And what I'm going to try to do, this is something I like doing with my real ones and with another plugin too, is just getting some extra attack and snap out of the drum. So I'm going to open the attack up. I'm going to make the release super fast, and then I'm going to look for something that just gives me some extra transient on the kick and snare. So I'm starting with this fader all the way down. I'll bring it up on screen so you guys can see how I'm raising it up. And let's just see what we got. Here we go.
Master plan, I bet again. My can we find another way? Self-defense. Hey, I lost some friends. Yeah, my own worst enemy is my head. Sweet beast on a sweet leash, trying so hard to escape. Alright, baby, alright. Can we find another way?
Okay, cool. So some of the things I did there was just I was playing with the input volume to try and make it go into compression a little bit more. I had sped up the attack a little bit, slowed down the release just a hair, and I got it to just kind of do a thing where it felt like I was getting more transient out of the kick and snare. there's a lot of other ways I would do that at this stage in the mix. The drums haven't been touched yet. That's not the first thing that I would do, but I wanted to see if I could just kind of make that feel happen. Again, like it felt a little bit, the way that it's going into compression doesn't feel the same to me necessarily, but useful tool, yes. Can I get a sound that I was going for? Yes. Okay, so Mousequake says, I usually mix into the overheads and then use the stereo imaging to make it wide. Let's try it real quick on the overheads like Mousequake does, and we'll go for a wide stereo image on it. Let's see, so Xtressor, and we're going to take off stereo link. And then let's just push it into compression, see what we get. So obviously typical thing is to try and get the snare to like knock back in the overhead, so you're just getting more of the overhead sound. Sometimes you completely mess up the snare sound by doing that because a lot of the body of the snare is up in the overheads, but we'll do it for, because why not? Here we go. Here's clean. Okay, now when I took off the stereo image link, these knobs behave independently as well. So that's something that's good to know. There's not another button for linking controls. I do wish that that was an option on here, and I'm just looking over the interface to make sure I'm not missing it. Yeah, if I disable the stereo image link, to me, we're talking about sidechain there and not about the controls. So sometimes I still want, like in this case, I don't want the sidechain to be going stereo. I want that to be looking at the left and right independently, but I still want to turn the output and the input up and the attack and release time. I want all those things to kind of be linked at this point, I think, until I don't want them to be linked. Then I want the option to unlink them. But yeah, here we go. Cool. And you guys can hear, just as Mousequake was saying how he likes to use it, that, the image gets wider because things aren't linked up on the sidechain and all of that. Tiziano says, you should turn on the oversampling. I think the oversampling really changes the plugin sound. So awesome. Let's get it on. Yeah, oversampling was off that whole time. So there you go. Let's go 16x, because why not? We'll see if my computer dies. Here we go. It does sound a lot better to me with oversampling on. The transient feels different, which is probably supposed to obviously happen with oversampling, but it doesn't feel as congested and tight. So oversampling for the win on this one. Make sure you try it out if you guys have it. That's great. Cool. Let's keep going here. So that's the thing on overheads. Mousequake, let me know if I should try anything else with that trick. I'll leave it on the overheads and we'll come back to it if we need to. Okay, gonna go down to the bass here. And let's just see if we can make something cool happen. So we're going to go, I'll make a routing folder. I'm going to route the tracks in the new folder. I need to make a SoundFlow script for this one, guys. Okay. Put the Xtressor on here. And we're going to be compressing the bass amp and the bass DI together. Also, take a look at the waveforms here. This is a compressed bass already. So we're just going to see, I'm going to see if like the mid-range pop thing of a Xtressor can make the bass shine a little bit. And one thing, so if I remember right, I think that this bass was tracked with a retro stay level on it. And just to really quickly go back to the Clone Wars thing, um, I want to say that I have a Audioscape V-Comp Plus in my rack here. So back on the clone discussion for a second, I'm not always against clones for sure because I couldn't afford a retro stay level at the time, but I could afford the V-Comp, and I had met the Audioscape guys and they seemed super cool. I did pay full price for it. We didn't do a plug-in review show of it or anything like that. And I really like it. Is it like a retro stay level? I can count on one finger if I use the knuckles how many times I've used a retro stay level, and it gave me that same familiar feeling. I don't have a retro stay level right next to it to try it out. I also like the Arturia version of the stay level that's in there, and I don't really know of any other ones. I think I want to say like Apogee has one. But yeah, of the ones that I have, which are clones, it reminded me of that original stay level experience, and I'm happy. So, kind of going against any of the other, argument of the clone stuff, sometimes it's useful. The difference there is that retro stay levels are twice the price of the one that I bought, and there aren't officially licensed retro stay level plugins. There's not other options that are directly available from the manufacturer. So that's, I think, where like my uneasiness is with it all. Okay, Paul Lucas, it's putting some nice snap on the drums with the oversampling. Yeah, definitely sounded really good with the oversampling on there. Okay, bass guitar. Let's go. Let's listen to it without and then with.
On a sweet leash.
Oh, side note, the bass guitar is not a bass guitar, it's a bass synth, and it's amazing. It's a, I want to say Moog Taurus pedal, but the guitar player and singer plays these giant Moog pedals on the floor while he's also playing guitar and everything, and that's the bass sound that we're hearing. So this is a synth sound. It's not just that it was compressed on the way in. Totally forgot about that. Yeah, so let's just see if we get anything cool out of using the Xtressor on it. Here we go. Okay, so the usual thing with plugins, you put this thing on there and there's a volume bump. Sounds better with it in, right? No, it's just louder. All right, let's actually listen though for a tone increase. Here it is in bypass. And let's turn oversampling on because we figured out that sounds better. Bypass. Man, I feel like the oversampling is very apparent on this example. So here it is off again, and then we'll turn it on. So if that goes through over YouTube for you guys, that makes a huge difference in the sound of this plugin to me. It sounds like it opens up. I'm hearing all the harmonics of the synth better. Definitely recommend putting the oversampling on. And I'm also hearing that mid-range pop that I get from a Xtressor. So whether or not it's overemphasized over, what it would be with another version of it, who cares? I'm hearing a mid-range thing, and that's the sound that I kind of expect from it. So let's just play around here, and we'll play with the distortion modes and just see if we can get something cool. I also want to hear if the saturation is going to do something cool or the warmth. So I'm just going to twiddle for a second, and then we'll talk. There's some cool low mid stuff kind of happening in there. It's not, changing the course of the bass sound, but it's kind of interesting. Let's play with the warmth knob. So warmth is rounding it out a little bit. Nothing crazy going on here. There's not a lot to compress either, so I just kind of pushed it into a little bit of compression and then played with those knobs a little bit to see what kind of tone we got. But basically, I just wanted to drive that circuit a little bit. That was the idea. Okay, let's see here. So I've got a more rock style vocal down here from Jeff Gorman, who's amazing. And guys, Illiterate Light has a new record out too. I highly recommend you go check it out. There's a lot of really good songs on there, and they're also hilarious on social media. So go follow those guys. All right, let's listen to this vocal and see if this is going to make a good example. Here we go.
Master plan.
Oh, hold on. Maurizio says I would use a sidechain filter on this bass to leave the lower end uncompressed. That is, of course, a wonderful idea. Let's try that real quick. Just see what we get. Here we go. I'm not really pushing a lot of compression here either. I just kind of wanted to start lighting up the THD light. So let's see if we get a lot of difference here. Yeah, not hearing a whole ton of difference because it's not compressing a ton. Most of that variation that you're hearing was actually happening on the synth. I just happened to time up my sidechain button press with when he was opening up the filter a little bit. Okay, let's go down to this vocal. Here we go.
Master plan. I bet again. My own worst enemy is my head. Right or wrong, and it's all day long. Calculated confidence, stay strong. Master plan, I bet again. Master plan.
There's a little bit of a noise there.
Master plan.
Yeah, it's in the recording. All right. Let's put on oversampling again.
Master plan. I bet again. My own worst enemy is my head. Right or wrong, and it's all day long. Calculated confidence, stay strong. Sweet beat, and it's all day long. Calculated confidence, and it's all day long. Calculated confidence, stay strong.
Okay, that was in bypass. Here it is in. And let me do this. I'm going to play one line in bypass, then I'm going to bring it in and listen for the tonal shift. It's not necessarily about the compression right now. Just listen for the tone of the box. Here we go.
And it's all day long. Calculated confidence, stay strong.
Here's the first line only, starting in bypass, then all on bypass.
And it's all day long. And it's all day long.
One more time.
And it's all day long. And it's all day long.
There's compression happening there, but the thing that I hear is like the upper mid thing that I love the Xtressors for a little bit. So is it exactly like it? Who cares? I hear a little bit of the thing that I like when I pull up a Xtressor plugin, and I'm getting a little bit of what I expect when I pull it up. Let's go over in a little bit, and I just want to see if we get something cool out of saturation, because this is already a little saturated. Might as well go all the way.
Self-defense. I lost some friends. Yeah, my own worst enemy is my head. Sweet beast on a sweet leash.
Yeah, less nasal, says Martin. Awesome. Um, are there presets? William Holmes asked, are there presets that can be loaded and modified? So let's check out what the preset section looks like. So we've got factory presets. And it looks like we got some mix bus options. There's some drums. There's some vocals. We got starting vocal comp, vibey vocals, snappy vocals. Then we have some from someone named Sam Pura. We have Alberto and Paul on there. So I don't know those guys, but that's awesome. Let's see vibey vocals. Let's try that one and see what we get.
Self-defense. Yeah, I lost some friends. Yeah, my own worst enemy is my head.
Yeah, he gets some cool distortion on there. He's got third order harmonics on there. It's only a 2-to-1, but he's at least with this vocal, it's hitting it hard. That might not be what he intended with this preset, but there you go. Some saturation, a little bit of warmth on there. So yes, there are presets. Yes, definitely some artifacts in the actual recording because Vance Powell gives 0 of the letter Fs. And he just goes for it. There's a lot of vibe on that. It was distorted on the way in. It was compressed, all the things. So I don't think of clean vocals when I reach for a Xtressor anyway. So that's why I'm not like, pulling up the world's cleanest sounding vocal here. But yeah, anyway, let me know. William Holmes says that sounds better. Awesome. What mic did he record that with? I believe that was recorded on, oh man, I'm blanking on it. It might have been 67 with he had another mic in with it. I'll have to check Mousequake, but it is on Puremix, Puremix.com. Let's see. We'll see if we can answer this quickly. Over on Puremix here, and gives us a second to go to the sponsor's website too. So we'll go Illiterate Light. Let's see, not on there, start to finish. And it is this series here called Sweet Beast in the start to finish section. And then if we were to go over to the vocals, we'll find out what he's got on here. So it looks like, okay, so he's got a Chandler. It's like a 47, I believe. I believe that was the vocal sound on the final. And let's just see if he did anything different overdubs. I don't think he did. Yeah, it was that. I believe it was the Chandler mic. And then they did overdubs on this Ampex sounding mic, which is really cool. But if you want to see the exact vocal chain and how Vance said it and everything, it's all documented inside of that start to finish series. Awesome. Vance is also amazing with Xtressors, and I definitely recommend no matter what plugin you decide to get, check out, just look for Vance Powell on YouTube for Xtressors, or obviously come to Puremix and look for any of his stuff on there. But he's a master of the unit, and you can pick up some really cool tips from him. Cool. So guys, I think that we have covered it. My bottom line on this plugin is if you have this in your toolbox and it's a useful tool to you, of course use it, right? That's the name of the game, is we have to use the tools that are in front of us. The point is music. It's not about which one sounds the most like the original one. Going to the ethics conversation, I don't think it's super cool that it's 100% recreation of a box that's already around with a company that's in business right now. It's not like they cloned a Fairchild that you can't get and it's unobtainium. And the companies that are making Fairchilds are emulations to my knowledge. I don't know that there's an actual Fairchild still being made, although I feel like I saw something recently. But yeah, I guess that's the thing that kind of rubs me wrong, is just if somebody's making an unlicensed version of a piece of gear that's already around with a unit on the market, I don't know. It just, something doesn't feel right about it, but that's just a personal thing. I probably shouldn't be putting my personal opinions on here. Fab can yell at me later. So, if you have this in your plugin alliance bundle and this is the compressor that's in front of you, you're gonna get a good sound out of it. I can say that. Like I find this to be useful. The behavior feels a little different to me than a regular distressor. Does it matter at the end of the day? Not if you made music and got a song out of you, right? Then it's just about, who are you supporting? But, again, your goal is to make music. So make music and don't overthink this stuff too much. That is the job of this plugin show. When you're making music, just make music and have a great time doing it. Kiive Audio, shout out to you guys for having a plugin out there for us to review. And obviously to Empirical Labs for making the original Xtressor. It has to be pretty interesting, to some degree, to know that you made a box that was so inspiring that you actually have people out there trying to make it while you're still around to see it happening. So I don't know, inspiring. I don't know if that's the right word, but anyway, these are all great pieces of gear. You can find cool tones with this, and I've used all kinds of gear for reasons other than it was intended for and gotten amazing sounds out of it. So at the end of the day, you as the user, just make great music. I guess that's all I have to say about it. And let me know what you guys think in the chat there. Paul, I hope that was enough of a personal opinion. Awesome. Yeah. Thank you, Mousequake. Yeah, I think it's useful. I think it's a useful plugin. And yeah, that's what I got. So cool. You guys, please let me know down in the comments what plugin you'd like to see next on the Great Big Plugin Show. Looking forward to doing some other ones. There were some really good suggestions in the poll. Again, join the Puremixers Facebook group. That is a really great place for all kinds of knowledge. There's an incredible community going on there. As always, please like and subscribe. That helps us to keep this show going and the other ones like it. We'll be back next Monday, 2:30 p.m. Eastern, for another edition of Mixtank. If you're not familiar with Mixtank, go to puremix.com, click on Mixtank. It's pretty amazing, and we'll see you on Monday at 2:30. Thanks, everybody. See ya.